If you're watching this video right now, you might be feeling scared, confused, or even overwhelmed by what you've been hearing about mass deportations, enforcement raids, and sudden immigration crackdowns across the United States. Maybe you saw a viral post claiming that immigration officers are going door to door in your city. Maybe a friend sent you a video showing people being detained at workplaces or schools. Maybe you're worried that your visa, your green card application, or your family's future in America is suddenly at risk because of something you read online or heard on the news. I want you to take a breath, because in the next 13 minutes, we're going to separate fact from fear, truth from rumor, and reality from political noise. This video will explain exactly what is actually happening right now with immigration enforcement under the current administration. What has genuinely changed in U.S. immigration law? What is still just political discussion or proposal? And most importantly, what you need to know to protect yourself, your family, and your legal status in the United States. You deserve accurate information, not panic. And that's exactly what we're here to provide. Let's begin by addressing what's really happening. Since the start of the current presidential term, there has been significant discussion, multiple executive orders, and numerous policy announcements related to immigration enforcement and deportation priorities. The phrase, mass deportation, has appeared repeatedly in news headlines, political speeches, and social media posts, often accompanied by dramatic images and alarming language. But here's what you need to understand clearly. The United States immigration system is governed by federal law, not by social media posts or viral videos. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, has always had the legal authority to enforce immigration laws, detain individuals who are unlawfully present in the United States, and carry out removal proceedings against those who have received final orders of deportation from immigration judges. This authority is not new. It existed under previous administrations, and it continues to exist today. What has changed are the enforcement priorities, the resources allocated to enforcement activities, and the political messaging surrounding immigration policy. Under current policy directives, ICE has been instructed to prioritize the apprehension and removal of individuals who pose threats to public safety, national security, or border security. This includes individuals with criminal convictions, those who have been identified as gang members or threats to community safety, individuals who have repeatedly violated immigration laws, and those who have outstanding final orders of removal and have failed to depart voluntarily. These enforcement priorities are similar in some ways to priorities under previous administrations, but the current administration has also signaled a broader interpretation of enforcement authority, which has led to increased anxiety and confusion among immigrant communities nationwide. It's important to recognize that enforcement operations are being conducted in various cities and regions across the country, but the scale, scope, and impact of these operations are often misrepresented or exaggerated on social media and in some media reports. Now let's talk about what is not happening. Despite what you may have seen online, there is no nationwide door-to-door sweep where immigration officers are randomly checking homes of every immigrant family in America. There is no new law that suddenly makes all visa holders or green card holders subject to immediate deportation without due process. There is no executive order that cancels existing work permits, student visas, or lawful permanent resident status overnight. U.S. immigration law is complex, and it includes strong procedural protections for individuals in removal proceedings. Every person in the United States, regardless of immigration status, has the right to appear before an immigration judge, the right to present evidence and witnesses, the right to appeal decisions, and in many cases, the right to apply for relief from deportation, such as asylum, cancellation of removal, or adjustment of status. These rights have not been eliminated, and they continue to apply even in the current enforcement environment. One of the biggest sources of confusion and misinformation comes from the difference between political statements, policy proposals, and actual enforceable law. When a political leader or government official talks about plans for mass deportations or stricter enforcement, those statements do not automatically become law. They may reflect intentions, priorities, or goals, but they must still be implemented through legal and administrative processes. Executive orders can change enforcement priorities and allocate resources, but they cannot override statutory law passed by Congress. Policy memos issued by agencies like the Department of Homeland Security can direct how officers conduct their work, but they must still operate within constitutional limits and respect due process rights. This distinction is absolutely critical, because much of the fear and panic in immigrant communities right now is based on confusion between what has been proposed, what has been announced, and what has actually been implemented and is legally enforceable. Let's also address some specific rumors that have been circulating widely on social media. One common claim is that ICE is conducting raids at schools, hospitals, and churches without any restrictions. This is not entirely accurate. While enforcement priorities have shifted, there are still policies in place that generally discourage enforcement actions at sensitive locations such as schools, places of worship, hospitals, and certain community centers, unless there are specific public safety concerns or prior approval from senior officials. However, these protections are policy-based, not law-based, which means they can be modified or reinterpreted by the current administration. Another widespread rumor is that anyone who applies for any immigration benefit right now will be immediately flagged for deportation. This is false. While it's true that USCIS and other immigration agencies share information with enforcement agencies, simply applying for a visa extension, a green card, or adjustment of status does not automatically trigger a deportation order. However, if you are out of status, have violated the terms of your visa, or have other immigration violations, those issues may be discovered during the application process, which is why consulting with a licensed immigration attorney before applying for any benefit is so important. Another area of confusion involves what happens to people who are already in removal proceedings or who have final orders of deportation. If you have received a final order of removal from an immigration judge and you did not appeal, or your appeal was denied, that order remains enforceable, and ICE has the legal authority to detain and remove you at any time. This is not a new policy. Final removal orders have always been enforceable, regardless of which administration is in power. However, if you are currently in removal proceedings and your case is still pending before an immigration judge, you have the right to continue fighting your case, present evidence, apply for relief, and appeal any negative decisions. The fact that enforcement priorities have changed does not eliminate your due process rights in court. For individuals who are here lawfully on valid visas, work permits, or as lawful permanent residents, it's important to understand that your status has not changed simply because of shifts in enforcement priorities or political rhetoric. If you are maintaining your status, complying with the terms of your visa, not committing crimes, and not violating immigration laws, you are not a priority for removal. However, this does not mean you should become complacent. It is more important than ever to ensure that your immigration documents are up to date, that you renew your status on time, that you keep copies of all your immigration paperwork, and that you avoid any actions that could jeopardize your legal standing. Overstaying your visa, working without authorization, failing to report address changes to USCIS, or committing crimes can all have serious immigration consequences, especially in the current enforcement climate. If you are undocumented or out of status, your situation is understandably more precarious. But that does not mean you have no options or protections. Depending on your individual circumstances, you may be eligible for various forms of relief, including asylum, cancellation of removal, special immigrant juvenile status, U visas for crime victims, T visas for trafficking victims, or other humanitarian protections. The key is to consult with a qualified immigration attorney who can evaluate your case, explain your options, and help you take proactive steps to protect yourself and your family. Do not rely on advice from friends, social media influencers, or unlicensed immigration consultants. Immigration law is extremely complex, and a mistake in your case could have permanent consequences. Now let's talk about what you should be doing right now to protect yourself. First, make sure you understand your rights. If immigration officers approach you at your home, you do not have to open the door unless they have a valid warrant signed by a judge. You have the right to remain silent and the right to speak to an attorney before answering any questions. Carry copies of your immigration documents with you at all times, but do not carry false documents or documents that do not belong to you, as this can lead to serious criminal charges. Second, keep your immigration status current. If your visa, work permit, or green card is expiring soon, start the renewal process as early as possible. Do not wait until the last minute, as processing times are often longer than expected, and delays can result in gaps in your legal status. Third, avoid criminal activity of any kind. Even minor offenses, such as driving without a license, shoplifting, or disorderly conduct, can have immigration consequences, including detention and deportation. Fourth, stay informed by following official sources such as USCIS, the Department of Homeland Security, the State Department, and reputable immigration law organizations. Do not rely solely on social media, WhatsApp groups, or unverified news sources for immigration information. It's also important to have a plan in place for your family in case of an emergency. If you are detained or deported, who will care for your children? Do you have important documents such as birth certificates, passports, and financial records stored in a safe place that a trusted family member or friend can access? Have you consulted with an attorney to create a power of attorney or guardianship arrangement for your children? These are difficult conversations to have, but they are necessary, especially in uncertain times. Many community organizations, legal aid clinics, and immigrant advocacy groups offer free or low-cost resources to help families create emergency plans and understand their rights. For those of you who are considering applying for permanent residency or citizenship, now may actually be a good time to move forward with those applications if you are eligible. Lawful permanent residents, also known as green card holders, have significantly stronger protections against deportation than individuals on temporary visas or those who are undocumented. Once you become a U.S. citizen, you have the strongest possible protection, as U.S. citizens cannot be deported under any circumstances. If you have been a green card holder for at least 5 years, or 3 years if you are married to a U.S. citizen, and you meet the other eligibility requirements, you should seriously consider applying for naturalization. Citizenship not only protects you, but it also allows you to petition for certain family members and participate fully in the democratic process by voting in elections. It's also worth addressing the emotional and psychological impact of living in a climate of fear and uncertainty. The stress of not knowing what will happen next, of worrying whether you or a loved one might be detained, of feeling unwelcome in a country you've worked hard to build a life in, is real and valid. It's okay to feel anxious, scared, or angry. But please do not let fear paralyze you or prevent you from taking proactive steps to protect yourself. Seek support from trusted friends, family members, community organizations, or mental health professionals who understand the unique challenges faced by immigrant communities. Remember that you are not alone, and there are millions of people in the United States and around the world who support immigrants and recognize the immense contributions you make to this country. Before we wrap up, let me emphasize once again that the information in this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered personalized legal advice. Every immigration case is unique, and the best course of action for you depends on your specific circumstances, your immigration history, and the current state of the law. If you have questions about your status, your rights, or your options, please consult with a licensed immigration attorney who is qualified to represent you before USCIS and the immigration courts. Do not make important decisions based solely on what you see on YouTube, social media, or hear from friends. Your future is too important to leave to guesswork. We know that immigration is one of the most politically charged issues in the United States, and it's easy for facts to get lost in the noise of political debate, sensational headlines, and viral social media posts. That's exactly why channels like USA Immigration Today exist, to cut through the confusion, provide you with accurate and balanced information, and help you make informed decisions about your life and your family's future. If you found this video helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Immigration laws, policies, and enforcement priorities are constantly evolving, and we're committed to keeping you informed every step of the way. If this video gave you clarity or peace of mind, please give it a like and share it with anyone in your family, your community, or your network who might be feeling scared or confused right now. Knowledge is power, and accurate information is the best antidote to fear. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What questions do you still have? What topics would you like us to cover in future videos? Your feedback helps us create content that truly serves your needs. Thank you so much for trusting USA Immigration Today as your source for reliable immigration information. Stay informed, stay hopeful, and remember that no matter what challenges you face, there are always people fighting for fairness, justice, and the dignity of every person seeking a better life. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.